everybody, Edo here, and as has been a long-standing tradition on my channel, I am about to launch the Herbaceous Pocket Edition Kickstarter. It's launching in 2 days on October 6th. That's a Tuesday, and as been a tradition, I'm going to talk about the things I've done differently with this Kickstarter from previous Kickstarters. I'm very active in the space. I run a lot of Kickstarters. This is like, I don't know, 14th or 15th. And, you know, I look at campaigns, watch trends, and sort of consider different things as I'm doing it. So I like this to be a video where I've said, I've made these decisions, I haven't made these decisions, I've made these changes. And I don't know, I like to be introspective and think about these things as I've progressed. And I think over the years it's been helpful or at least interesting to other creators. And from a development perspective, Herbaceous Pocket was super interesting, taking Herbaceous and bringing it down to 1/5 of the size, or 1/6, I think technically, but I think I say 1/5 on the page. And, you know, here's that herb biscuit, it's so small. And just working through creating the fantastic small cards and problem solving the size. And just, this was a cool project. You know, it was neat because I didn't have to do a ton of art development, right? Like this is mostly graphic design, but just, I really enjoy this. I had, for those who aren't familiar, been doing it, did a version with, a Polish version of Herbaceous where they used a little bit thinner cards, and then there was a French one by Madigo, where they used even slightly smaller ones, but still pretty big, and I was like, hey, can I make it really small? And I have, or we have, and I thought the team did a great job getting it to where it needs to be, and I'm just super excited. Like, I think this is a fabulous addition. There aren't many games where you can just have the card art be it, but this one is one of those, and I think it works really well. So, that, you know, very interesting sort of going through that process and coming up with the title and doing that. And so, having said that, though, let's talk about the Kickstarter campaign. And by the way, I have in the description first, this is the preview page, so you can sign up to get a notification when we launch on Tuesday, which would be awesome if you support. Pledge $1, pledge more, fantastic. It's pretty cheap. It's going to be a $15 pledge level. But also underneath that is the like full give me feedback campaign page. Now, like, I've been through this a bunch, so hopefully you don't have any feedback. But if you do, send it along. I mean, I'll have 24 hours to fix it. But, which is always helpful, actually. If you don't, one thing I've done every campaign is 2, 3, 4 weeks out when I have my stuff together, I post in a number of the Facebook channels. Highly recommend that. And I do get feedback for review. But so I've fixed the feedback. But again, if you have anything to add, please do. But the reason I bring it up is so that as I'm talking about these things, you can look at the Kickstarter page as you're listening or afterwards and be like, oh, this is what he was talking about. Okay, so starting from the top, as I said, it's launching on Tuesday, October 6th. I've launched almost all of my campaigns on Tuesday. I think we're somewhat past the point that Tuesday's the only day to go. It's certainly the heavy days. Like, I know Keith Matejka's launching Cartographer's Heroes on Tuesday, and he did the solo design for Herbaceous. So, like, but there are other titles. But I've just gotten used to it. I like it. The news cycle sort of fits to Tuesdays. So that's why I did that. I launch super early, 6 a.m. PST, 9 a.m. EST. That's because I'm going to be working on Tuesday. So I've launched all my campaigns at super early so that I can get it launched, out, ready, and then go do my day job. So it'll be launched early on Tuesday. When you launch a campaign, I'm not exactly sure. I tend to think a lot goes into how successful you are your first days, what a number of the programs that pull first day metrics from. And the earlier you start, the more hours in your first day. So if you start at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., your first day is going to almost inherently be lower. But this is much more about what's easy for me. I highly recommend any creator, do what's easy for you. Don't pick a bad time. Pick a good time when you're going to be focused. You know, also with kids and family, 6 a.m. is great. No one's awake yet, right? And when I say 6, that's a launch. I have all these steps in advance. I wake up probably at 4:30 that day to like prep. But other people like other, you know. You do you. What else? It's a short campaign. It'll run for 13 days. I've move towards shorter campaigns, especially for, you know, the Liftoff Expanded Deluxe Edition was a 14-day campaign. The One Night Cabinet probably was 3 weeks, was probably a 3-week campaign. I sort of think of it, if it's like super straightforward, I'm at like 2 weeks. If it's a little bit more complex, 3 weeks. I don't see my going over 3 weeks for any campaign other than maybe Mall Peak. Mall Peak, I expect, hope, think will be one of our largest campaigns, if not our largest. So that's going to be one where like I expect growth in the middle. But most of my campaigns, heavy at the beginning, heavy at the end, with pretty, you know, middle. And it's just stress and headache, and shortening it works for me. So I've well been in the like short campaign space for some time. So I will note it's 13 days. I like ending on a Monday, and I have a reason. So the way the cycle works, Tuesday's when everything comes up. So if you like look at when people cancel campaigns, oftentimes it's a lot on Tuesdays because you have people who are like, the new hotness arrives. So like rolling into your last day being a Tuesday, sort of a bad day because like it's a new hotness day, which is why I end on the Monday at 9 p.m. before that Tuesday. But there's still weekend, end of week cycling that happens on Sunday. So actually Monday's not the worst day because, you know, you're still a campaign ending soon from that previous week. Whereas if you end on Sunday or Saturday or even that last Friday, you lose that cycle. So you get this sneaky little extra bit without walking into, you know, launch day of like 20 other new games. I used to end on that Tuesday, and then I backed up to the Monday. I've done the Sunday, and I think I noticed I missed a couple news cycles, so I went back to the Monday over the years. I have ended on Thursdays in a few places. Sometimes it'll depend on holidays. This is pre-Halloween. Though, I mean, this year's crazy, right, because of all the things. But, okay, so that's sort of how to think about timing. So one of the things you notice I've been doing more and more is, so I do a manufacturing prototype. This is a prototype, but it's a really high quality. This was a particularly easy one because it's like a deck of cards, but on a box. But there's also, we were thinking about things. Actually, one of the interesting things for a while, I was doing these cards that tell people how to get to how to play videos, and I wasn't intending to do a manual on the inside, but Keith was like, you got to do a manual, Ed. And I was like, fine. So actually, it's gonna be pretty cool. We're gonna have like a full. This version doesn't have the full sample, but we're gonna have actually like the full rules inside of it, which will be great. They'll be small, but we did some tests. It's legible. But the point is, I get a version like this, and I'll actually have 10 or 20 of these manufactured, great for reviewers. But the other thing I do is Ross from More Games Please takes incredible photographs. And what I really like about his photography is it's very grounded in a physical space, which goes really well with the types of games of this line. And so you'll notice a lot of the photography on the page has a real, it's a really nice visual feel to it, and it's very appealing. So I've used him, I think, for a long time, and you pay for his work, but it's cheaper than marketing. And like, this is plug for him or anyone who's a really good photographer. Great photography is relatively cheap compared to video marketing, but can be used in so many ways, and has really, people love sharing, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. Like, bang for your buck for paid photography is super high. You're gonna have all these bills on video review preview stuff. Some works, some doesn't, but man, that lower bill for 5 great photos of your cards, your games, your meeple, pretty outstanding. Or even doing them on your own. So that's integrated in the page, but I also use it for the like lead-in image. Did some reviews, ended up pulling as much information as I could. I think when people are looking through the thumbs, just having something that grabs your attention, and you'll see what we did, but like, I like that a lot. I just like, I even tried to remove all icons, which were some awards and some other things, and people were like, well, I'd like to have that information, and I still feel mixed, but I'm going to leave it in there. But I definitely feel that being clean is valuable, especially for this line and look. The other thing I've done is, so I've done a lot of different videos over the years, some higher production values like Skull Hollow. What I had been moving towards in these lines is doing a lot of, I would pay for video footage, like for the Whatnot cabinet, like interesting footage of people finding things or traveling, or herbaceous sprouts, people digging, or sprouts growing. And I get like HD quality video, and you can like source it and think about it and then do some video editing. And then usually I'd combine that with people playing the game and doing all that stuff. I've always wondered, like, do you have to put that time and effort into the video? Is it required? People do all these long videos when, like, clearly we know people don't watch for that long. And for a while I didn't want to do any, like, I was like, I'm going to do a campaign without any video. And ultimately what I did, and you can check it out because it's in, is the Herbaceous Pocket videos, 14 seconds. It got some nice VO talking about the Pocket Edition Herbaceous. It's, a couple sentences, and I have images of the game behind it. Perhaps could have done more with, like actual camera motions that were more natural instead of doing it through the photos. But ultimately, I feel like it's a pretty nice execution to the effort. One of the things about this product is, one, I don't know how to do. But this is like a whim, right? This was like, hey, I think this would be awesome and fun, and I want it. I don't know if other people are going to want it. I'm going to give it a try. But I also, I'm not going to try to break the bank on it either. So, I wanted to have a conservative campaign. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But, this is sort of like, if this does really well, maybe I'll do something else. But I don't know. There aren't many of these. I haven't tried it. I'm excited about this one. But so I didn't want to spend $2,000 on a Kickstarter video, right? So you can check that out, see what you think. I just have some notes, and I use this stuff, a lot of the work that Ross did. Oh, another change to the video. This is almost more interesting to me than making it short. This is the first one where I don't do the opening spiel with VO, people playing, images of the game. I mean, that's pretty standard. But in almost all of them, I guess maybe not Skull Hollow, but did I even do it at Skull Hollow? I think I might have, maybe not. But anyway, I don't say, hey everybody, Edo here, and I'm super excited because of Herbaceous Pocket, blah, 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 blah. You know what? I think this game sells. I know it sells, the original, but I feel like you don't need, this is the first time, somebody asked me why I don't have the Pencil First logo, in the front of it. It's this is a pretty game for people who like fillers, and it's the design from Steve is so good. This is what it's about. Check out the page. We'll see, but so you don't see my face. In the about section. But that's a big change. Normally, I was because it's only 15 seconds. I could tack another 15 seconds and still only be 30 seconds, but I didn't. It was it's always, doing something like this is great. We went to the original Herbaceous campaign, saw how we did the layout. I took a lot from that. We edited it. Kim Robinson, who's the graphic designer, both worked. Ben Schulman also did some effort here, but Kim's been doing all of the Kickstarter stuff. But it was taking it and leveling it up, but that was just helpful. Did a lot of people asking for a comparison, so we worked out a way to be the game and then the small version of it, and sort of making sure that visual is in place. Super cool that the Dice Tower named this the most relaxing game, period. His top 10, this is number 1. And he likes the kind of games that are pretty light and fun. And so it's cool to be able to showcase that, right? So that's just neat. It was interesting. There was a mini expansion in the original where you redid it. So there's a lot of places where you look back at the old campaign and did it again. One of the things back in the day, my mini expansion was a Kickstarter exclusive. Eventually, 2-3 years later, I went back to some of those old campaigns and asked if I could make them. I asked the backers if I could make them no longer an exclusive because people were just very interested in it. So as of Sprouts, maybe, or the game after Sprouts, I don't do this anymore. I do not non-retail Pencil First Games and Board Game Geek store type mini expansions, and that's really been fine. But it's a $5 thing that you get for free, and then you can put in the box. Another interesting decision and choice I made, which is different, is Herbaceous is still doing really well. Actually, this year we've had the best year with Herbaceous that we've had since launch year. right? And so the title's still really successful. And I was super concerned about like having two games that are essentially the same competing. And so what I decided to do is, basically I'm not bringing this to retail. I'm hedging a little bit. For a second I was going to just make a Kickstarter exclusive, period. And I thought about it, and I'm like, well, what if somebody, like one day I might want to do it. And boy, I really regretted all like having to go back and get permission from folks. And then also and probably I want to sell this from my site because I do, if you like Herbaceous, I do want you to have access to this. So I'm doing what did I say? It says exclusive first print. So basically what I'm saying is like, hey, the first print of this is just for Kickstarter backers and for pencilfirstgames.com. It's not going to retail. It's not even going to go to BGG. Yeah, maybe they would. I don't know if they do full games. But so like, basically it's like, hey, the Kickstarter is the best price and the best way to get it afterwards. It's just going to be available from my site, and it won't be a retail. It leaves the door open for me to say, oh, a year has passed, and now I want to do it, or it's people are clamoring. But I can do that as a second edition. I can do it 3 months, 6 months, 9 months later. This campaign really is like, hey, if you want this thing, come and get it. Show me, tell me you want it, because I don't know. I really don't. Response has been positive, but it's not like there's a ton of these out there. This type of thing. Also neat was for I had the How to Play my mom did for the original game. I used that one again, and then Rodney Smith from Watch It Played had done one. So like, there's certain areas, like a cool thing about doing a campaign like this is I get to leverage those things, right? So again, it keeps costs down, but they're also super high quality. And a lot of people like my mom's version quite a bit. I still get people giving comments on that one. How to Print and Play in the original, just kept it. They're not smaller, but like whatever. There's a little bit about this where it's like, it is the same game. So like, I have reviews. Like I have like reviews of the small version and reviews of the old one, and I separate them into two sections. But it's the same game. It's just smaller. We also my Quality Beast Partners, who's doing the German and Dutch version of Crude. Oh man, I don't even want to pronounce this stuff. That word and that word. Krautergarten and Crudigewas. I'm sorry. Anyway, these two versions also made a tabletop simulated version in English and in those languages, and so I gave access to that, which is cool. I broke the reviewers into two categories. One of the things I'll say, there's no paid reviews here at all. Like, I generally don't do much. But sometimes Man vs. Meeple, or I've done a few other ones over the years on the original campaign. I think I was using Undead Viking did one back in the day. But again, it's part of having a lot of content already, and just not, like, I really don't think people realize how much $600 out of your pocket for marketing cuts into your profit margin and viability of your product. Like, those dollars are so expensive. On a title, I'm not sure how well it's going to do. I'm pretty, fortunately, because I have some existing stuff, just not doing it. And I'm not doing a ton of marketing. I'm doing the Facebook and the Twitter and Instagram, and working a little bit of Pinterest because it's really good for this. Like, doing the usual, but not, I'm really, I'll probably do 20, 30, 40 bucks of Facebook ads. That'll be it. Definitely not using Jallup. And so that's that. A couple other interesting things. So I could have done the version where I had every other game and tons of bundles. I didn't. I'm just sticking to this. I don't want to have a complicated thing where I got to figure out how to get a copy of not the one that comes in a good example, but Herbaceous Sprouts to places all over the world. I really want to focus on the single title. So I have like a 1, a 2, and a 3 copy there. I am, though, aggressively considering Pledge Manager. In that context, I could add all those other titles. I think I'll be using Jetbacker if I went that way, but I'm like, not sure. And actually, it's something I've looked at both. I have all the options. I know how to do it on my own. And to some degree, I'm going to like look at the scale. Like, if ultimately it's like a 500-person campaign, in some regards, it's like, it's just easier for me to do it on my own. Let me just do it. It's no problem. If it exceeds expectation and it's 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people, which would be a ton, yeah, then you're like, well, maybe go through these hoops because, hey, maybe some people want to bundle the original Herbaceous or some of the other titles of Sensitive Water. You know, you could see it. So I'm leaving it open. I have all the different approaches laid out. I know all the numbers. I know the plan, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to see how the campaign does. The other interesting thing, though, and so I'm not doing a $1 pledge. Haven't done that for ages. There's an automatic tier that you can just get with Kickstarter anyway. You watch some old videos, but I've moved away from $1 pledges for a long time. Also not doing a retailer pledge because, hey, not making a retail product, at least as of now. The last interesting challenge I faced with this one, which was rough, is international shipping. So, like, in the States, I can ship this as sort of first class mail. Internationally, with the bubble wrap, it's like 25. It's like 2 centimeters too big or 3 centimeters too big. So, like, basically, I can't get a cheap, reliable way to ship this internationally. Like, even using other partners, even going through getting it to, to fulfillment centers, there's no the international letter sizing requirements. Like, it's just this. It's not. So it ends up being a small package. So it ends up being expensive. And like I went to new partners I haven't worked with before, and I'm like trying to shop around, and just ultimately there wasn't a good way to get a cheap price. And it's just it's super evident when your game is $15, right? Like, or so this is 15 free shipping in the United States, but then looking for shipping in other countries. You're like, well, the cost of shipping is the cost of the game. Like, I mean, if you've done a Kickstarter campaign, you've gone through all of this. And I sort of I really hemmed and hawed about it. Like, because it's always such a headache, right? And also, for those who don't know, there's all these, like, extra fees, delays. Like, shipping is more, the amount of failed shipping, reships, like, your shipping costs are going over and over. And I'll also note, even though it is becoming more the norm, people are more comfortable with it, I still really personally dislike asking for shipping after the fact. I really don't like it. I really don't. And so I'm not ready to go down that route. So what did I do? I came up with so basically there's an international shipping thing, and I say, look, I explain what I just explained here, perhaps more eloquently, shorter. And I basically said, look, if you want to get this in Europe or France or Australia or whatever, just don't buy one. The shipping you're paying for fits 2 or 3. Buy 3. Buy 2 of them. Give them to a friend. Talk to a friend. Like, all you need to do is buy the second or the third, and the number's fine, right? Like, it's reasonable. It's the one copy that's just like, why would you do it? And it's just like, I don't know why you would do it. Maybe you want it, but like, it's a great gift. Like, buy it and then like just go to some game night. I mean, if you can, right? But like, just drop it in, send it to a friend. Just drop it on somebody, put it underneath somebody's door. Like, it's just a cheap, fun thing that I think people can enjoy. But that's just like the only way I could rationalize it. So I don't know what to expect from that. I mean, I'm sure people aren't going to be necessarily happy. Hopefully I can explain it, but there's just no way it wouldn't be. Since it's not going to retail, like almost all the other times, it's like it's going to retail. So one, getting it to a lot of people is positive because maybe if it's net negative or break even or net negative, you're like, well, it's, there's more people playing it. So when it hits retail, more people like know about it. Like, so there's like this excuse you make. But this it isn't going to retail, right? So that doesn't exist. Oh, and the other thing with retail, you can be like, oh, if it's too much for shipping, just wait. It'll be in distribution. My games are in a lot of countries. You'll get it eventually. Like the Whatnot cabinet. People, if you didn't want to pay for shipping on the Whatnot cabinet to New Zealand, I mean, at some point, it'll be in New Zealand or wherever. But that won't be the case with this, or at least not initially, most likely. So anyway, hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully it works. I absolutely dig this, man. I so like playing this edition. It's like, anyway. So this was an interesting one. I thought, since they're small, since I can do a pretty small run, and even if I had to, I could do a half run. I'm confident that it'll fund. Where we get to, whether it's like sort of, again in that 400, 500 backer range, or I think Herbaceous was probably in the 1,800, 2,000 range. So like, I think there's the potential there. And I mean, since Herbaceous shipped, this is in its 4th or 5th print run. So like, there's more people who know the game. But, we'll see. But I think, just as like, to round this out, it's always important. Pay attention to the market, think about your product, and try to weave together what you've done before, what you're comfortable with, and trying out new things. And some things you have to like make decisions on, and some things like this pledge manager, leave it open a little bit. So anyway, hope this is as useful as ever. Check out the campaign, check out the page. As always, like each and everything anyone can do, I appreciate. If you appreciate my stuff, you can, when I launch, the campaign launches, you share it to people, even if you're not backing or you go in for $1, whatever. It's super helpful and I appreciate it, but I do hope this is useful information. Okay, thanks. Bye. Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.